Hey folks, this is Ray from DCRaymaker.com. Today I've got Garmin's newest cycling computer, the Edge 820. The Edge 820 takes the Edge 1000's mapping capabilities and pulls it back into something the exact same size as the Edge 520. That's the unit that came out last summer, kind of the really nice small cycling GPS. And they've added a touchscreen on there and a bunch of new software features. So what I'll do here is I'll run through the whole system and how it all works, what's changed, what's different, how it compares to the 520, how it compares to the 1000. By the end of this, you'll be an expert in the Edge 820 and you'll be able to figure out whether or not it's the right cycling computer for you. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so if you start here at this home page, the first thing you may notice is it looks a lot different from the Edge 520 or the Edge 1000 or the Edge 810 or really any other Edge out there, except the Edge Explorer. So it's got this much more simplified start menu here. And what they're really focusing on is basically three things. Either you can ride your bike, which is the top one, you can navigate somewhere, which is probably also riding your bike, or you can train. But you'll also notice down here the increased prominence of the Connect IQ option there to dive into Connect IQ apps. So up here at the top, this is your activity modes. So I've got train, for example. I've got indoor mode. You'll notice it instantly shut off the GPS there. I can go back again. Race mode turns back on the GPS. You can change these modes within the settings. So I can go down into here, go into settings, activity profiles, and I can go ahead and add, copy, or delete activity profiles. They're useful because a lot of settings are tied to activity profiles. So for example, if I go into train, I can go down to navigation, maps, and I can change different map styles there. So you could have, for example, one for mountain biking where you want different things to show up there versus you would on a road bike, and so on. It's also where you're going to set up data pages as well. So you go here into data screens, and you've got different data pages, so 5 different screens, and you can configure numerous pages on each one of them. So we can go ahead and increase this up here and see exactly how many we can get up there. 9, 10, we get 11? Nope. So 10 pages, or sorry, 10 fields per page, which is more than most people should need. And then we've also have there the map field, compass, elevation, lap summary, virtual partner, cycling dynamics, lights, and so on. Like all the recent Edge cycling computers, this can connect to the Very lights as well as any AMP Plus light systems. So Bontrager has lights as well that are AMP Plus enabled, and so on. Back on the main page here, we've got the training menu. This is where you can do workouts that you've created. So in my case, I went ahead and I pre-created some custom workouts there. These had different steps in them, and it'll go ahead and iterate through those steps for me automatically. It's also where you can create new workouts. You can control an indoor trainer, so any AMP Plus bike trainer, that's the FEC trainers, which is basically every trainer out there now that's electronically controlled. I can pair that here and then control the trainer. That allows me to go ahead and ride an outdoor ride indoors. It allows me to go ahead and download rides and so on. I can also go ahead and set up intervals right there straight from the unit itself. So again, you can do a workout, edit workouts, really kind of the basic stuff that we've seen in the past, as well as race activities and set targets. Different targets here for distance, time, and speed. So looking at navigation then, if we go ahead and open this up, I've got courses that I've already pre-created. So I'm going to go into Save Courses, and you'll see both of these right there. I'm going to click on the smaller one right here, about 3 miles, not too far. And then I can click Ride, at which point it's going to go ahead and ask me if I'd like to navigate to the beginning of the course. In my case, I'm going to choose No because I'm right next to the beginning of the course. And I'm going to go ahead and allow it to start calculating the course out itself. Now this is the one area I've seen it's a little bit slow. This route is only about 3 miles. It is again through downtown Paris, but it's kind of slow. So that is what it is. You know, once you're out riding, it's not too bad. So it'll recalculate on the fly pretty quickly, which is good. But this is going to take 40 to 60 seconds for it to complete, which is kind of long. Now within the map area itself, I can tap on the map screen. I can move it around by hitting the little hand right there. And this allows me then to move the screen. You'll see it'll render pretty quickly. Being in a downtown area, that's not too bad given how much stuff is here. I can zoom out. It renders again within about 2 seconds. So it's not as instant as an iPhone would be or something, or another phone. But it's not too bad. If I move it there, I'm going to go across the island, and it moves up and renders reasonably quickly there itself. I'm going to go back to the home page here by tapping that home button, and I'm back here. Now there are some new features that are worthwhile noting. The first is Wi-Fi on this. So you can see the little Wi-Fi symbol underneath the rain right there, which is something the Edge 520 does not have. The Edge 1000 does have that though. You're also going to find a bunch of new kind of recovery and training stats that you'll see on a lot of the watches, but haven't necessarily been provided on the 520, the 1000. So within the My Stats section is where you're going to get a lot of those kind of training metrics that'll go ahead and it'll track for you during your rides, either by doing tests or by having it automatically do it. So for example, FTP, I have this set right now. I can also enable auto calculation. So what that'll do is once I've paired my power meter to it, it'll go ahead and calculate that FTP on the fly. Or I can do an FTP test. So if I'm really bored and want to just feel a lot of pain, I can do that. I don't really want to do that. I can do a stress score, which requires a heart rate strap, and it'll basically go ahead and measure that stress. We saw this again on a lot of the wearables this past fall. This is the first time we've seen it move to the Edge units. It'll also keep track of personal records, training zones, and so on. Again, some of this stuff we've seen in the past, but some of it's also kind of new to the Edge series itself. So if we go back to this page here, we've got this contact section there. That's new to this unit. It's been introduced in the Edge Explorer last summer, but what it allows us to do is to go ahead and specify emergency contacts in case we crash. So what the unit will do is it'll take this and pair it to your cell phone, and then it'll use your cell phone signal to notify these people via text message that something is wrong. And the way it does that is by using an accelerometer. So if something happens and it feels a jolt and it crashes, it'll go ahead and notify. You get kind of a message up here first to allow you to dismiss it in case there's any issues. You know, just like your bike falling over, it doesn't notify your significant other that you're in deep trouble. But it's something that, you know, Garmin had talked about bringing to the Edge 520 and the Edge 1000, but never really did, and so now we see it here on the 820. Diving more into the settings, we've got the group track. So group track is similar to what you have seen on the Wahoo Element, where it'll go ahead and it'll show your kind of predefined friends on the screen. So as you're riding around town or riding around your neighborhood, or beyond the neighborhood, I guess, you can go ahead and you can see people that are on your contacts. So I'll see these connections on the map automatically, and you can go ahead and ensure that it's cycling, running, or both. So I'm thinking this is giving you a bit of a hint at what might be coming down the road here, because, you know, Garmin hasn't actually announced any running group track activity yet. So that's kind of an interesting little tidbit right there. Next, you'll see this battery save mode. This is definitely new on the Edge 820. I go ahead in here, and what this basically will do is it'll start to turn off features to allow you to finish your ride while still recording the data that you want. So if you get down to like a 10% battery warning, you can go ahead and turn this on, and it's essentially going to shut off your screen except for notifications of a certain type. So we go back here, and you can enable this, and you'll see it'll tell you what type of notifications. And so you got churn guidance, segments, lap, activity alerts, smart notifications. You can turn those on and off and get notified for just those things, and it'll wake up the screen for that. But the primary goal here is to keep on recording data. It's not to, you know, have that data be displayed, because that's going to take up more battery life. So this is all about kind of squeaking it out to the very end and getting you through that ride. So you may be asking yourself, what exactly is the difference between the Edge 820 and the Edge 1000? This is $399, this is $499. So, you know, do you want to spend an extra $100 for this? Now the first difference is obviously the size itself. This is, you know, quite a bit bigger. The screen size, if I put these two screens so they align, you know, this is like a good 2 centimeters taller. The actual width appears to be almost identical. Maybe this has a millimeter or two more. So definitely the real estate size, which can be useful for mapping, or in particular mapping. You know, on regular data pages, you're probably honestly not going to notice it that much. The number's a little bigger, but you can make the numbers bigger here by decreasing the data pages themselves. But obviously, so size is definitely a big thing. You know, the actual depth, they're almost identical. If I put them on a table flat, they're virtually identical there. Both of them do have Wi-Fi, so that is something that's the same on both. They both have Bluetooth, they both have ANT Plus to connect to sensors. But a key hardware difference here is that the Edge 1000 does have this micro SD slot for adding more maps. But at the same time, you don't necessarily need that, because the Edge 820 has 8 gigs of storage, of which 6.1 gigs is free out of the box. So you can even delete that extra 1.9 or so gigs, the majority of that just has the default maps on there, and free up that space. But really, 8 gigs of maps for this type of unit is a crap ton of maps. That's like enough to go all the way across Europe, all the way across Russia, still put Japan on there, and probably get lost in Australia. So you just don't need that much mapping on this. At any one point in time, you can delete maps, you can add maps. So quite frankly, 8 gigs is fine. Again, there are some nice things to have micro SD cards on there, but I don't think it's worth it. A lot of the changes really are in software though. They're not so much pure hardware. And so this is where we see the differences if we go into, get back here to the main menu. And we've got this new user interface, which just has kind of the older user interface. Personally, I'm still kind of liking this, to be honest, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. If I go into the settings option, you've got the incident detection there and instant notification for your friends and family, which is not seen on the Edge 1000. It is on the Edge 1000 Explorer, by the way, just as a brief note on that. Into settings, we have the battery save mode, not on the Edge 1000. Group track, not on the Edge 1000. Some of the features that you saw back in the My Stats, here, stress score, not on the Edge 1000. So those are really kind of where the main software differences are. Also, we have audio prompts, which means that you can tie this to your phone, and your phone then using a Bluetooth headphones or using wired headphones can notify you of churns and different things like that via the actual phone itself. But are these things worth the extra $100? Personally, for me, no. I'm perfectly fine with this. So at this point, you're probably asking yourself, what is the difference then between the Edge 820 and the Edge 520? And that's where I'm once again here to help you out. So to begin with, you'll see on the outside they're exactly the same dimensions in terms of width and depth and screen and all that jazz, except obviously this is touchscreen and this is not. So you can touch that all day long and nothing's going to happen. But you'll notice Garmin's made some changes for that. First of all, on the Edge 820, you've got no buttons there, where you have these up and down buttons on the 520. The same for the other side, again, no up and down buttons. You do have the bottom buttons for lap and start and stop, so it's good that they kept those. But again, the shell is otherwise identical. The most obvious way to tell these apart from the distance, by the way, is that this is white and this is gray. And this has this kind of secondary black line across the front, and this is just gray across the middle. So if you see somebody from 100 yards away, maybe 50 yards away, you can tell the difference that way. The other thing to keep in mind is that you'll notice there's a little Wi-Fi symbol here on the 820. The 520 has no Wi-Fi. A lot of the other changes are back to software again. So while this was released just a year ago, we've got kind of the, I don't say older because it looks just fine dandy to me, style UI. This is more the simplified UI. And then we get into some of those features that we talked about earlier around software. The same with the 1000. So, this does not have group track. It does not have incident detection and incident notification. It does not have some of the metrics that we saw again back into the My Stats area here, such as stress score and things like that. So minor software things. Again, the question is $100 worth it? This is $299, this is $399. Personally, I have no problems using this whatsoever. I've got a boatload of them. I use them for all my testing. I will continue to use them for all my testing. I would say it really comes down to mapping. When you look at mapping on the 520, the way it works is you can load maps on there and you can see detail and all that jazz, but you don't get these navigation options that you see here. So you don't get, for example, the ability to add an address or search for different things. You can put courses on here, but it's sort of a breadcrumb experience. You're technically following a course, and it tells you when you're off course, but it's not going to redirect you back on course. Whereas if I miss a turn on the 820, it'll get me back on course virtually instantly and tell me how to reroute. That's also a really important difference when you look at something like the Wahoo Element, which cannot do rerouting on the fly. So if you get off course, it's totally your problem to get back on course again. And maybe that'll change down the road, but that's the way it is today. Last but not least on the difference between these two, this has that 8 gigs of space. This has a whole lot less than that. I believe it's a couple hundred megs, right? It's about 100 megs, I think, the space on this. So yes, you can put maps on here, but only a small chunk. I can get the general Paris region where I would ride typically, but that's about it. So just keep that in mind. Whereas this, you can go for a long, long ways without having to put or change the maps. So those are the two differences. If you're riding a lot in places that you don't know, maybe the 820 is a better option. If you're riding in places that you know really well, the same routes and all that, probably the 520, you can just save $100 and call it done. So there you go, folks, a bit all you ever wanted to know about the 820. But if you want to know even more than I've somehow talked about in this video, you can hit that link down the bottom of the description there. That goes to my post that I talk in a lot more detail about the 820 and all the features and lots of discussion there. Or you can look at the unboxing video that I've done over my shoulder there. And then most importantly, hit the like button down below and especially the subscribe button so you can get more videos like this. You'll definitely see a bunch more 820 and kind of similar videos over the next little while here this summer. And I'll be doing a full review probably sometime mid-late August, right before Eurobike. So with that, thanks for watching.